Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Story Behind the Story. With me now is Jon Walker, here to talk about the possible return of Northwest Missouri State University Division II football. So, John, what are we looking at here? I know we've heard some announcements from some other schools, but what has been the process for Northwest Missouri State?
Yeah, so thankfully enough, I had the opportunity to sit down with Northwest Director of Athletics, Andy Peterson. And I guess just to preface, on whatever the date was, September 19th, that Saturday, it was announced that developments came about that the MIAA was possibly playing football this fall, after on August 14th announcing that it would not. A vote passed from the athletic directors 10-2, and that allowed each institution to make the choice for themselves. A vote did not pass 5-5 in the MIAA, with two of the schools abstaining, and so therefore there would not be a sanctioned MIAA football season. But I think a few hours after that, Pitt State was actually the first school to announce that they were going to have competition this fall, and they were going to play FCS school Stephen F. Austin. So that's kind of how this whole situation came about. And yeah, to my conversation with Andy Peterson, he said that Northwest is actively trying to schedule schools. He's made a couple of phone calls and hasn't heard anything back yet. So that's something to watch out for. This is a Story Behind the Story exclusive, I suppose. But Missouri Western does have an empty slot left on their schedule. They've also announced a slate of games for November 28th. The opponent is to be decided, and that could be a possible slot for the Bearcats.
And with them not making a decision yet, what
Right.
does this mean moving forward for them? Does it mean a longer off season with more practices and more isolation for the players?
So Northwest actually, Missouri Western, Pitt State, and Nebraska Kearney were the three schools that kind of spearheaded this operation to bring football back this fall, because they found a way to deem it feasible for them to conduct testing and all of that stuff. Northwest, as of a couple weeks ago, didn't necessarily find it feasible, but now because of all the rapid test and the saliva test, not necessarily the swab one, the funding or the cost of those tests are cheaper, therefore making it feasible for Northwest to be able to do it should they so choose. So yeah, Northwest actually doesn't start practicing until September 28th, this upcoming Monday. And so really Andy Peterson's biggest concern was giving the players enough time to have their bodies ready. And so I think that if Northwest does have a football game, the earliest that I would take a guess would probably be like a Halloween deadline or a Halloween start, at the earliest. But I guess what it means for the future is really uncertain at this point. As much as I've hated hearing it and probably everybody else has hated hearing it, it is probably the most fluid situation in the history of sports. And with that, Peterson's biggest concern was, does the university really want to expend the resources to conduct a rather meaningless football season with no championship implications when you could use those same resources for your winter sports and spring sports that still have a chance at a championship? So it's like everything for the past 6-7 months, it's uncertain. So we'll find out.
And moving forward from this, if Northwest does choose to have a season or to have somewhat of a season, what does this look like in a capacity for fans? Fans in attendance, no fans?
So it's actually, Peterson said that he has no idea in that regard either. I personally think that it would be a stadium by stadium basis. Obviously, Warrensburg is treating it very differently than Maryville. And so Maryville's mask mandate, along with the other guidelines, could look a lot different than Warrensburg or any of the other MIAA schools, or really whichever school Northwest would choose to play. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, John, I want to thank you so much for coming on
Thanks
today.
for having me on.
Talking about the possibility of a return. I know we all want to see it. We're all hopeful, and we hope to hear more here in the coming weeks.
Yep.
You're listening to Story Behind the Story. I'm your host, Keegan Cooper. We'll be right back with some more.